Coming up on tonight's UAP News Show.
Inside the UAP Hearings, breaking down the before, during, and after.
Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie. We are back at it again for another episode of UAP Society's weekly UAP News Show. I am stoked to get started, so without further ado, Justin, say hey.
Greetings, cosmic enthusiasts. It's Justin here. Let's dive right in.
Alrighty, up first, inside the UAP Hearings, breaking down the before, during, and after. On September 9th, 2025, the Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets held a historic hearing titled Restoring Public Trust Through UAP Transparency and Whistleblower Protection. We heard testimony from journalist George Knapp, whistleblowers Jeffrey Nuccetelli, Dylan Borland, and Chief Alexandro Wiggins, as well as policy expert Joe Spielberger. What unfolded was a revealing look at both progress and the persistent obstacles in how UAPs and whistleblowers are being handled. From social media debunkers echoing Tired Arrow and Project Blue Book talking points, to Dylan Borland's shocking allegations of retaliation during a polygraph exam, to Senior Chief Wiggins' unusually smooth pass to testify about the Tic Tac encounters off California, this hearing painted a complicated but fascinating picture. And then there was the headline grabber. For the first time ever, the public was shown a video about a UAP being struck by a Hellfire missile and walking away or floating away unscathed. Let's break down the before, during, and after these hearings and what it all means.
Before we even dive into what went down inside the UAP hearings, let's rewind and take a look at the energy leading up to the big event. Social media was buzzing. Photos were flying in, and the community was in full force. Let's check out a few highlights from the ground.
Okay, first up, we've got Stephen Diener from the UAP Unidentified Alien podcast sharing the excitement from the scene. You could really feel the anticipation building in the community, and Stephen's post captured that perfectly. Let's take a look. He says, "Quite the room tonight at the pre-hearing reception. Everyone working towards one goal of disclosure."
I don't know about you guys, but I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall during this reception.
How about a fly on the wall? How about a human on the ground? Let's do that.
Right. So we got Dr. Greer, we got Sarah Gam, Carl Nell, Eric Burleson. I see Robert Salas back there. Who do you see?
You skipped over Jaime Musan.
Okay.
I think that is the guy from Soul Foundation, Peter Skafish, right there.
Okay.
I think that we might be looking at the side of Carl Nell right there also.
Yep. That's Carl Nell.
Yep. So there's like a lot of people in this room. And I mean, you guys, if you don't know by now, I love getting together with people. I love doing collaboration kind of stuff. So to see like this UAP VIP party going on before the hearings, I just love stuff like this. Let's check out what the next one looks like.
Okay.
All right. So this one is a different one. I think we're looking at the back of Greer's head in this one. You got Eric Burleson, you got Anna Paulina Luna, and then the next person I see is Carl Nell, and then Michael Gold, who was one of the witnesses from last UAP hearings.
And here we have Stephen Diener along with Danny Sheehan.
Okay, also in this photo behind Stephen is another face that I recognize, but the name is escaping me, and I just did a quick search and couldn't find it quick enough, so we're going to have to edit that in later, but I also recognize the guy behind Stephen. So I'm really here for these kind of pictures. I love when people share stuff like this, and let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Next, journalist Joe Khalil, who's from News Nation, chimed in with his perspective. Always great to see seasoned reporters covering these hearings with the seriousness they deserve. And here's what he had to say. Before the hearings begin, we spot Representative Eric Burleson, who's been very out front on the UAP topic, with his relatively new staffer, David Grush.
I don't know about you guys, but when I saw Grush there, I just like a surge of like excitement and energy like ran through my body. I mean, like I know that he wasn't going to be testifying this time around, but just the fact that he was in the room representing Congress, you know, he's Eric Burleson's, what's his official title? Advisor, staffer.
He's a staffer. He's congressional staffer now.
Congressional staffer. I was just glad to see him there in some sort of official capacity and being present and sharing his thoughts and advice in this kind of situation. So glad to see Grush there. I thought that was really cool.
Yep. And then one of the key witnesses himself, Jeffrey Nuccetelli, gave us a peek into his own journey that day. Imagine walking into Congress knowing you're about to testify on one of the biggest mysteries of our time. That's history in the making.
Jeff says, go time. I'd be super nervous. I don't know about you guys, but I'd be super nervous if I was him.
I don't know how you can't be.
I know. Well, honestly, I mean, maybe there's enough like camaraderie and support from all the people that were there that it's not so bad, right?
Right.
I would hope so.
Because obviously you feel like you're with your friends.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I would like to think that anyways.
Yeah.
That's just me. Okay. Anyways. All right. So finally, filmmaker James Fox, who obviously is no stranger to documenting extraordinary events, shared his vantage point. When storytellers like James are locked in, you know something special is happening. So James's tweet reads, on our way to the UAP congressional hearings this morning. All right, so very cool picture right outside the Henley Park Hotel. All righty, there you go. So there's a little glimpse of the atmosphere before the hearings kicked off. The tweets, the photos, the voices from inside and outside the hearing room set the stage for what turned out to be a truly historic day. Now, let's shift gears and talk about what actually went down during the hearings.
Now that we've set the stage with all the buzz leading up to the hearings, let's dive into what actually went down inside the room. And let me tell you, this one had some fireworks. And immediately after the live stream wrapped up, Allie and I jumped in with Chris Lato from the Lato Files, Martin Wills from that UFO live show, Pavel Barra from Psychoactivo podcast, and filmmaker Dean Aliato, whose new documentary, The Alien Perspective, is out now. We all broke it down live while it was still fresh. But for now, let's rewind and walk through the hearing itself, witness by witness.
Okay. So before we dive into the details, let's go right to the start of the hearing. Here is when the lineup of witnesses are being introduced and sworn in. Veterans, journalists, and policy experts all taking the oath to tell the truth under penalty of perjury. That alone tells you that this is no casual conversation.
I am pleased to welcome the panel of witnesses for today's hearing. I'd first like to welcome Mr. Jeffrey Nuccetelli. He's a United States Air Force veteran and a career federal employee with more than 20 years of experience in national security, law enforcement, and public administration. Next, we have Alexandro Wiggins. Mr. Wiggins is currently serving as a Senior Chief Operations Specialist in the United States Navy. Mr. Wiggins is testifying in his personal capacity today and not on behalf of the United States Navy. Next, I would like to recognize the gentlewoman from Nevada, Representative Titus.
I'm honored to be able to introduce a witness here who is from my district, George Knapp, who has been the definitive expert and reporter on this topic that you're exploring today, UAPs or UFOs. So I know that his testimony today is going to be of great interest and value to this committee. So thank you very much.
Next, we have Mr. Dylan Borland. Mr. Borland is a United States Air Force veteran and has a long career in federal service. And finally, I'd like to introduce Mr. Joe Spielberger, a senior policy counsel at the Project of Government Oversight. Pursuant to Committee Rule 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and the nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record show that the witnesses answered an affirmative. Thank you. You may take your seat.
And there it is, the moment that set the tone. This wasn't about speculation or social media drama. These were sworn testimonies under oath with real consequences attached.
First up, we heard from U.S. Air Force veteran Jeffrey Nuccetelli, and his testimony was jaw-dropping. He spoke about not one, but 5 separate UAP incursions at Vandenberg Air Force Base, including the infamous Red Square sighting and another event involving a massive triangular craft that was larger than a football field that appeared to land on the flight zone or flight line before shooting off at impossible speeds. Even more chilling, Nuccetelli revealed that witnesses were pressured into silence, told never to speak about what they saw. Let's roll the clip for his opening statement.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairwoman Luna, Ranking Member Crockett, and members of the task force for giving us the opportunity to testify today. My name is Jeffrey Nuccetelli. I'm a former military police officer with 16 years of active duty service in the U.S. Air Force. I'm here today because the American people have both the right and the responsibility to know the truth about unidentified aerial phenomenon. That truth remains hidden, classified and silenced by fear, retaliation, stigma, and confusion. Today, we are here to help break that silence. Between 2003 and 2005, 5 UAP incidents occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base. home to the National Missile Defense Project, a top national security priority. At the time, we were conducting launches deemed by the National Reconnaissance Office as the most important in 25 years. These were historic launches. These facilities were vital, and they were repeatedly visited by UAP. Each incident was witnessed by multiple personnel, documented, investigated, and reported up the chain of command. We sent information up, but we got no guidance down on how to handle these events. I personally witnessed one of these events and investigated others as they occurred. 6 other service members have provided me with the information that I will share with you today. The incursions began on October 14th, 2003, when Boeing contractors reported a massive glowing red square silently hovering over 2 missile defense sites. After several minutes, it drifted further east onto the base and vanished over the hills. This event, now known as the Vandenberg Red Square, was referenced by Representative Luna at the first hearing on this topic. Official Air Force records of this event are in possession by Aero and the FBI. Later that night, while I was on duty, security guards at a critical launch site reported a bright, fast-moving object over the ocean. I responded to the incident. Chaos ensued over the radio as the object approached rapidly. I heard my friends screaming, "It's coming right at us, it's coming right for us, and now it's right here." Moments later, I heard them say that it had shot off and was gone. When I arrived on scene, I talked to 5 shaken witnesses who described a massive triangular craft larger than a football field that hovered silently for about 45 seconds over their entry control point before shooting away at impossible speed. About a week later, another patrol reported a light over the ocean behaving erratically. Believing it might be an unannounced aircraft, they declared an emergency, and an armed response force responded. Before the forces could arrive, the object descended and either landed or hovered on our flight line and then took off again at impossible speed. The witnesses to this event were threatened and intimidated afterward. They were told to keep quiet and think about what they were reporting. After that, things did get quiet until about 2005, when another patrol reported a massive triangular craft larger than a C-130 silently floating over the installation. He watched it for a few minutes. It traveled west and disappeared into the night. We stand at a pivotal moment in history. The question is no longer whether these events are real, but whether we have the courage to face them. True leadership requires vision, a willingness to confront the unknown with transparency and resolve. So I ask the Congress to help we, the people, enact this vision. There are 3 goals. Fund independent research and treat UAP study with the same seriousness as we would any other scientific field.
Absolutely.
2, end secrecy and overclassification. Transparency is the foundation of truth. Without it, witnesses like us are dismissed. 3, protect the witnesses. Many stay silent out of fear for their careers, reputations, and the safety of their families. Protect them, and you will embolden others to join this cause. These phenomena challenge our deepest assumptions about reality, consciousness, and our place in the universe. Exploring them can unlock transformative breakthroughs in technology, biology, and human understanding. Let this be the moment when America chooses courage over fear, transparency over secrecy, and progress over stagnation. Let's show the world that our nation leads not only through strength, but through fearless pursuit of the truth. Thank you.
All right, Nuccetelli's testimony wasn't just about strange shapes in the sky. It was about a system that actively tried to bury the truth. When you hear an Air Force veteran detail events like this and then describe how voices were silenced, it raises red flags all over the place.
All over the field.
Mm-hmm. I'll be honest, I thought one of the most intriguing things about his testimony was when he spoke about the orb coming down and hovering over his house and how he rushed home or rushed over to his house to make sure that nobody got abducted.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Very, very. I mean, again, all of this stuff is being said under oath. So I don't think he would say that without feeling really strongly about it.
right. And then he said the orb went back into the sky and just looked like another star. Right.
Which makes me think, like, well, how many of the stars that we're looking up at when we look at the night sky are maybe not stars, and they're just ships or crafts or orbs or something just chilling there, trying to seem incognito. Right. You know what I mean?
You never know, right? I mean, one way to know is to learn what the most prevalent stars are in your night sky throughout the year.
Yeah.
So that you could quickly take a look and spot something that, hey, that shouldn't be there.
While I love that, I really doubt the average Joe
exactly.
is going
to How many people are actually going to do that?
To memorize the star map.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, his testimony was really intriguing. I did not include the clip of him talking about his personal sighting at his home. I can't include everything. This show will be 10 hours long if I do that. But yeah, I did think that was interesting, and I'm glad that his testimony was added to the record.
Me too. Next, we hear from Alexandro Wiggins, an active U.S. Navy service member who had a front row seat to one of the most extraordinary aerial phenomena in recent history. In 2023, Wiggins witnessed another infamous Tic Tac incident, a glowing, unidentified craft emerging from the ocean, linking up with 3 other objects, and accelerating to supersonic speed in a way that defies the laws of physics as we know them. His testimony provides a rare, first-hand look at an event that continues to challenge our understanding of flight, propulsion, and the very nature of our reality. Here's a clip of Wiggins delivering his opening statement, describing what he saw and how it unfolded.
I now recognize Chief Wiggins for his opening statement.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Alexandro Wiggins. I'm an active duty U.S. Navy Operations Specialist Senior Chief Petty Officer, father of 3, and dedicated American testifying today in my personal capacity. The views I share are my own, and I do not represent the official positions of the Department of the Navy or any subordinate organization. On the evening of February 15th, 2023, at approximately 19:15 PST, in the Whiskey 291 warning area off the coast of Southern California, I was serving on board USS Jackson. During that period, I moved between the Interior Communications Center, ICC-1, and the bridge wing, correlating the sensor picture with visual observations, part of my routine responsibilities for surface and air picture management. What I observed and what our crew recorded was not consistent with conventional aircraft or drones as they appear on our system. A self-luminous tic-tac-shaped object emerged from the ocean before linking up with 3 other similar objects. The 4 then disappeared simultaneously with a high synchronized near instantaneous acceleration. I observed no sonic boom and no conventional propulsion signatures, no exhaust plume, no control surface articulation on the Sapphire image system. Shortly after the synchronized departure, radar tracks dropped. These observations were multi-sensor and recorded inside of ICC-1 with time location overlay visible in our source frames that have been made public by journalists. From my experience operating in this region over many years and consistent with our public characterized encounters, unidentified objects reoccur in United States operation areas off Southern California. That fact alone does not tell us what they are. To be clear, I am not here to make claims beyond my lane. I am here to provide a first-hand account of what I saw, what our systems recorded, and why it matters for safety, for intelligence, and public confidence. My request to you is practical. Help us capture, protect, fairly evaluate the evidence, and provide a safe pathway for those in uniform to report it. In closing, I want to thank the committee and the task force for holding this hearing and for placing this discussion in a forum where evidence can be examined carefully and openly. I appreciate your attention and stand ready to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, Wiggins' account leaves us with more questions than answers, highlighting the mystery and complexity of these encounters. From the ocean depths to the skies above, the phenomenon continues to challenge conventional explanations.
So, in my opinion, I think that his testimony is one of the most important and interesting cases because there's real data of anomalous objects.
That hasn't been confiscated.
Right. And it hasn't been debunked yet. It's something that we don't readily have a prosaic explanation for.
And I love that we have multiple military radar sensor machine systems, whatever you want to call them, that have captured this object. So it's not just one person or one type of radar. It's multiple ways of recording this event that we have on file for people to look at and analyze and try to make some sense out of.
Right.
So I'm really, really glad that he brought this to the table on official record. Again, we have to keep reminding everybody that, these kind of conversations or these stories you may have heard before, and they may not be like super exciting to everybody who's like in this. But for the Joe Schmo average person who's not into this like we are, having these things said under oath with the potential for this to be, a bad situation if you're lying, it's monumental for when these things are put on record. So don't take it lightly.
Right. And so now that we have two Tic Tac incidents that have been discussed under oath.
Yep. First one was David Fravor.
Right, from 2004. And ironically, or maybe not ironically, both of these incidents happened in the same area of the globe.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Which then brings up the fact, and these were off the coast. So in the water, right, in the oceans. And that brings up, UAP going into the water. Right.
And speaking of our oceans, I feel like now is the perfect time to highlight a clip of our live stream post-hearing roundtable discussion where we mention how the mysteries of the oceans could potentially be tied to UAP activity. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Chris Lato for hosting that stream, for Pavel for joining us, for Martin Wills, and for Dean Aliotto for being part of the discussion. And of course, you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm glad that you brought up USOs because Burchett also made a statement stating that he thinks that NHI are in our waters. And that's been one of my theories for such a long time.
Absolutely.
I'm like, these oceans are 80% of our planet. 90% of them are uncharted, undiscovered. So who's to say there's not bases or some sort of something down there? I mean, that's just something that I've always stood on a soapbox about. So I was glad to hear him talk about it. And I mean, Richard Dolan has written books on USOs. It's just a topic that I feel like needs more discussion because we're always worried about like looking up at space, but let's look down into the oceans of the planet we're sitting on already. You know, it's like, what if they're already here?
And I want to know if you guys have ever seen the movie called The Abyss. And if you haven't, for anybody that's out there watching, I highly recommend you go
The
watch
Abyss.
The Abyss.
Oh, The Abyss. So yeah. Yeah.
Didn't Burleson recently say that The Abyss was true or made a reference to something
he
about...
said he thinks that's most likely the case.
Yeah.
From what he's being told.
One of the most rememberable conversations I've had was the one that I had recently where Anna Polina Luna and myself met with a whistleblower. I had to travel to get there. And I mean, it took me an entire day to get there and back. And it was someone who is coming from the nautical source. And so the activity that's happening under the ocean is what he was talking about. And it was kind of remarkable. Almost reminded me of the movie Abyss. To give you asked me about a movie.
Oh yeah.
He didn't say Abyss, but the things he was talking about reminded me of the movie Abyss.
Now, in regards to the water kind of formation or the like almost jellyfish manta ray beings?
No, just that there is a structure in the deep ocean.
Wild. Thank you.
So there's a guy named
wild.
Scott. There's a guy named Scott Cassell. He was the first person to film a giant squid in the wild, and he's had like 5,000 hours underwater. And he was on a rebreather off the coast down at Baja in the Sea of Cortez. And he all of a sudden sees this cube that just shows up, and he starts like chasing it down. He goes down to like 400 feet, and it's this gold cube, just intelligently controlled. And he's 60 miles offshore away from everyone. And he encounters this. And that is such a dramatic story. And he's filming the whole time. He has 2,500. He actually has a brain tumor right now, unfortunately, but he's not able to find the original film. But I mean, that's one of the most crazy USO things I've ever heard. And he describes it as a cube. And then I started wondering about what Ryan Graves was reporting was a cube and a sphere, off the coast. Maybe there's some type of relationship between the two there. It's fascinating.
Good point.
Anyway.
Pavel, it is fascinating. Pavel, you looked like you were about to say something. I was like, ooh, what was that?
No. I don't know. There's a lot of different stories about USOs. And I've been talking to Rich a little bit about some of the stories that he has for his volume 2. And some of the things that he's going to talk about there are really, really interesting. And it's worldwide. It's not just happening with the U.S. or with the Navy. It's happening all over. The most activity there is, actually, is near my house in Baja. I live in Tijuana, and I went to interview fishermen who, one of those fishermen actually was also interviewed by Elizondo. And they do talk about that there's a lot of activity right up north of Guadalupe Island. And there is an electromagnetic anomaly there where most of the sightings are, and where a lot of these objects get out of the water, and they light up the entire place, and then they just leave. They just go up. And there's plenty of people who have seen them. There's a marine biologist who studies animals within the island who has already seen a couple of those objects that are they glow. That's what it's not a light per se, it's a glow, and it's really intense glow.
So yeah, I thoroughly think that the most probable thing that's going on, or the most plausible thing that's going on, is that there's something anomalous happening in our oceans.
Under the sea.
Who knows? Maybe James Cameron is right, just like in the movie The Abyss. Like I said a minute ago.
Yep, and just like I said on the live stream, I have been saying this for a minute now. This is probably one of them hills that I will gladly die on, because until somebody proves me wrong and proves that there are no alien bases in our oceans, I will keep talking about this. Okay, I will keep talking about this. And I really want you guys to go back and watch the live stream conversation that we had the day of the hearings, because we had a really, really interesting conversation where Dean asked me about how these UAP craft or USOs could potentially be moving so quickly through our oceans without hurting or ramming into any sharks or schools of fish or whales or whatever. And we had a really interesting conversation about potential, bubbles around craft, or I brought up the point about how murmurations of birds don't crash into each other. If you look at a murmuration of birds flying around, it's like they're all flying in this really intricate pattern of waving and moving, but nobody's crashing into each other and colliding and falling out of the sky. So it's like maybe they have some sort of telepathic resonant connection with the ocean creatures. I don't freaking know. All I know is that I want to know.
Okay.
Go watch the whole live stream, or at least that part of the conversation.
That's a good theory.
And again, this also points to the fact that there is soft disclosure in Hollywood, because hello, The Abyss.
Right. Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Just saying.
Pandora.
Right.
E.T. There's you guys know all the movies.
Yeah. All right, now we turn to George motherfucking Knapp, okay? A veteran UAP journalist with over 30 years of experience investigating the unexplained. Knapp has a long history of digging deep into sightings, encounters, and government secrecy, and he's not afraid to spill serious tea or drop names of UAP gatekeepers to reveal the inner workings of what's been being kept from the public.
Good morning, Chairwoman Luna, Ranking Member, Ms. Crockett, and members of the task force. And Dina Titus, I just knew we were going to get you involved in this topic at one point. Great to see you here. I'm George Knapp, Chief Investigative Reporter at KLAS TV in Las Vegas. I began my pursuit of this weird mystery way back in 1987, and for 38 years, I've always approached this as a news story. It's not a matter of faith or belief. To me, it's a story, and it's an important one. I'm proud to be here alongside these witnesses today, men who have seen strange things and stepped forward to tell the world about it. Whistleblowers and witnesses who step up are routinely insulted, belittled, or worse. They risk their reputations, their careers, their clearances, their livelihoods, and sometimes much more than that, even their freedom. I know that one of the goals of the task force here is to figure out ways to protect whistleblowers and witnesses, and it's a tall order because so many of the things that happen to witnesses like these are extra-legal. They're carried out by persons unknown, as Mr. Dave Grush, sitting up at the top of the room, knows all too well, including events in recent days that have happened to him. The public has been told over and over since the late 40s, there's nothing to worry about here. These mysterious craft seen by millions of people in the skies, in the oceans, over the land, are not real. They're not a threat. The witnesses are wrong. They're crackpots. Don't believe it. That changed for me. What got me hooked is the paper trail. Documents that were squeezed out of the U.S. government after the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, became the law of the land. And those documents paint a much different picture than what the public, the press, and Congress have been told over many years. The documents from military and intelligence personnel behind closed doors admit that, quote, these things are real. They're not fictitious. They can fly in formation, they're evasive, and they outperform any aircraft known to exist, including ours. The public, of course, as I said, has been told something much different. Back in 1989, I reported about a guy named Bob Lazar, who claimed that he worked at a facility dubbed S4 out in the Nevada desert, very near to Area 51. He said he was part of a reverse engineering program. He said there are alien craft that will be taken apart to figure out how they operated out there, and that was a pretty tall order. I had clearly taken a dive into the deep end of the pool there. But in the years since then, I've interviewed dozens of other people, and I've detailed what their testimony has been in the written statement. I want to move on now to the Russia files, because that was going to be sort of the central impetus of what I was going to talk to you about today. Back in the early 90s, I got into Russia, met with a number of their defense officials, Ministry of Defense and others, who confirmed for me that Russia had been doing the same thing that the United States had been doing, that is, secretly studying UFOs while publicly saying something completely different. The documents and interviews that I obtained and have now shared with this task force show that the USSR launched what is almost certainly the largest UFO UAP investigation in the world. The first phase of that was an order was sent out to the entire USSR military empire that every unit, you see anything strange in the sky, a craft, an orb, something unusual, you had to gather all the evidence, collect testimony from the witnesses, look for physical evidence, and all of that information went into one program at the Ministry of Defense. Thousands and thousands of these reports came in. A lot of them were first routed to the KGB, but then back to another program that came after this collection effort called Thread 3. And Thread 3 was an analysis program. We have provided to the committee the documents of what they were trying to do, and essentially they were trying to build their own UFOs. They were using the information from their observations and studies to try to figure out that technology. The guy who was in charge of that program, Colonel Boris Sokolov, told me that their goal was to basically develop technology that would be superior to anything we had, based on what they learned from UFOs.
Mr. Knapp, just in the name of time,
Sure.
to my understanding, did you have anything you wanted to submit for Congress to see in this committee?
I have submitted those documents.
Would you like to play any videos? Do you have a video that you would like to play?
I don't think it's for me to play.
No, that was for Alexander.
Yeah, Alexander's video.
Okay.
You could play it, he could narrate it.
Okay.
So as you just saw, Rep. Luna pretty much interrupted George Knapp's opening statement there to show that never seen before video. But before we dive into that, because that's like a whole nother conversation, a whole other loophole that we're going to talk about, but not at this very moment, I want to take a moment to unpack some of the key points that came up during George's testimony.
All right. So in a tweet from UAP James, he said, Rep. Luna says she may subpoena Sean Kirkpatrick following George Knapp's testimony that Arrow appears to have operated as a counterintelligence effort to discredit UFO whistleblowers.
It almost looks like Arrow operated as a counterintelligence operation to get people to come in, tell their stories, and then discredit all of them. I can't imagine that any whistleblower or witness will ever go to Arrow again because of what happened under the first director, who's now long gone, but still seems to act as the spokesperson for that organization.
And I would say, Madam Chair, maybe at some point we need to really dig deep into Arrow, and I would encourage us.
Oh, I'd be happy to send maybe a subpoena to Mr. Kilpatrick.
There you go.
And UAP James also highlights George Knapp names former Lockheed Martin Vice President James Ryder and former CIA Director of Science and Technology Glenn Gaffney as UAP Special Access Program gatekeepers. And he said, I don't fault these contractors for doing what they were asked to do by our government. They're supposed to lie.
Spill the tea, George. Spill the tea.
Are any of you willing to name specific gatekeepers within the root cell of the UAP SAP Federation?
You mean specific people and contractors that have dealt with us and kept the secret?
Specific individuals.
Well, one of them was named Dr. James Ryder at Lockheed. But, again, to emphasize, I don't fault these contractors for doing what they were asked to do by our government. They're supposed to lie if people ask about it. And the intelligence agencies who gave this stuff to them, CIA, I think primarily, told them to keep it quiet, and they've done that. And I suspect that they'd like an off-ramp, that they'd like some help with figuring out this technology at some point. I have a name for you.
Go ahead.
Glenn Gaffney, CIA.
Glenn Gaffney, CIA.
And I'm so glad for George Knapp coming to the rescue there when they asked about, name dropping names of gatekeepers, because you could literally hear the tumbleweeds rolling by and the crickets chirping because nobody wanted to say anything. And then George Knapp was like, all right, you know what? Hold my beer. James Ryder, okay, and Glenn Gaffney. You heard me. I didn't stutter. So shout out to George Knapp for dropping names, because it seems like nobody else was gonna, and he came to the rescue for show. And just for funsies, a tweet from Disclosure Meme says, George didn't bring receipts. He brought the whole filing cabinet. Oh, man, I think that's cute. I love laughing.
Yeah,
I hope you guys
too.
love laughing as much as I do.
Now we shift our focus to a truly jaw-dropping moment. The never-before-seen video of a UAP being targeted with a Hellfire missile. Since its release, this footage has sparked intense debate, with countless theories emerging about what exactly we're seeing, and the discussion is far from settled.
We can, in the name of showing that video to everyone on the task force, we'd like to play that video at this time.
Sure.
You call it the VVSS team.
Like 22,000 feet.
That shit took off earlier.
Mr. Wiggins and Mr. Knapp, we'll get back to what that video was in a moment, but we just want to make sure that it was entered into the record, as well as all the documents. Those will be able to be publicly found for everyone in the country to view.
All right, so when I first saw this video, it was extremely interesting to me. I mean, just from on the surface, without doing any sort of analysis, my first impressions were this video clearly shows something anomalous, because not only is this object moving, it gets hit and it deflected the missile, or appears as though it deflected the missile. Mm-hmm. And then the three objects that came off of the object, the big object, they had the same infrared signature. I mean,
they showed up the same, yeah.
They looked exactly the same. It looked like three identical pieces. Okay. Which that's really anomalous, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, how can you hit something with a missile and three identical objects come off of it, right? So that was the first impressions that I had of it.
Okay, I love your ideas, but let's table that for just a second, because we're going to get deeper into the analysis of the video itself later on in the segment, okay?
Okay.
All right. So what I want to focus on at this moment is that this video really, really got people talking. We've pulled a couple of tweets and clips so that you can see the range of reactions from the community. And it's clear that opinions are literally all over the place. What's really wild is this isn't just making waves online. Mainstream media has actually picked up on it too, with outlets like TMZ even covering the story. It just goes to show how these sightings are no longer confined to fringe circles. They're capturing attention everywhere. All right, a tweet from Rep. Anna Paulina Luna says, in today's UAP hearing, we revealed new military surveillance video showing a UAP splitting a Hellfire missile in midair. Not a single witness was aware of any U.S. military technology capable of such a feat. Every witness described the footage as extremely scary.
I'd like to ask the committee to replay that video that Burleson had played earlier. I want to ask every witness here, specifically ones that have sensor training or have been able to recognize some of this movements real quick. So if you guys can please roll that real quick. Okay, while this is still rolling, Mr. Nuccetelli, real quick yes or no answers. Are you aware of anything in the government, United States government arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this?
No.
And do whatever blob thing it did and then keep going? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, how about you, Chief Wiggins?
Nothing to my knowledge, ma'am.
Okay, and how about you, Mr. Borland?
I prefer to answer that in a skiff.
Okay, does this video scare you guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Wiggins?
Yes.
Nat?
I had a different reaction. I was really happy that it got out. Thanks for providing
Curiosity
that.
killed the cat. All right, Mr. Borland?
Yes, for...
Okay. All right, that is the end of my questioning.
Okay, so to hear 3 military guys straight up say, yes, that video is scary. I mean, for a civilian, that's a little bit unsettling, just a tiny bit. I thought it was funny. She went down the line. It was like, yes. George Knapp was like, no, we need to talk about it. Yes. I just thought it was really funny. Okay.
In this next clip, we hear from Dylan Borland, a U.S. Air Force veteran who stepped up to testify about what he saw and what he endured. Dylan filed complaints with the ICIG and Aero after witnessing a triangular craft up close. And he's one of the people who says speaking up came with a cost: harassment, clearance problems, and career headaches. Listen for the details on the sighting, the official complaints, and the retaliation he faced for doing the right thing.
If we could, Mr. Knapp, we'll continue on the line of questioning, but I'm going to move on to Mr. Borland's opening statement.
Good morning, members of the task force and the committee. I would like to express my gratitude for being invited to testify to the current task force created under the People's Chamber and the American public. As an American citizen, veteran, and intelligence community professional, it is an honor and a privilege to serve under oath before you on behalf of our country. I speak for myself and no former agency or company I have been previously affiliated with. My name is Dylan Borland, a former 1N1 geospatial intelligence specialist for the United States Air Force in an active duty enlisted capacity from 2010 to 2013. I've also been employed with BAE Systems and Intrepid Solutions as a senior analyst, expert in analyzing video, radar, and advanced electro-optical imagery for official identification of aerial order of battle, as well as naval and ground order of battle. I'm a federal whistleblower, having testified to both the ICIG and Aero with direct firsthand knowledge of and experience with craft and technologies that are not ours and are reportedly operating without congressional oversight. Because of my direct knowledge of the reality of certain legacy UAP programs, my professional career was deliberately obstructed, and I have endured sustained reprisals from government agencies for over a decade. From 2011 to 2013, I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, conducting 24-hour operations via manned and unmanned aerial vehicles for Special Operations Forces in the global war on terror. During the summer of 2012, my team was on standby for weather, and I returned to my barracks on base, and at approximately 01:30, I saw an approximately 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near the NASA hangar on the base. The craft interfered with my telephone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic. I was under this triangular craft for a few minutes, and then it rapidly ascended to commercial jet level in seconds, displaying zero kinetic disturbance, sound, or wind displacement. Some years after that experience, I was further exposed to classified information from the UAP legacy crash retrieval program through a sensitive position I held within a special access program. During this time, intelligence officers approached me in fear for their own careers, citing misconduct within these programs and similar retaliation that I was already enduring at this time. These issues include medical malpractice committed by Veterans Affairs staff, denial of work I performed while enlisted in the United States Air Force, forged and manipulated employment documents, workplace harassment, including colleagues being directed to not speak with me, manipulation of my security clearance by certain agencies, blocking, delaying, and ultimately removing my ability to be employed within the IC. The retaliation I face and the retaliation against individuals I know who worked in these programs is what convinced me in March 2023 to become a whistleblower. I came forward out of concern for people's lives and to ensure I did everything I could to let our elected representatives know the truth about what is really happening in the executive branch. After David Grush testified under oath in the summer of 2023 and provided historic disclosure, I was then asked to go to the ICIG and did so in August 2023. It was very clear early on during my intake interview, which was video recorded under oath, that the objective was to solely assess how much I know and not move forward with an investigation with new information I provided them. The aftermath of that IG complaint still troubles me to this day. Since my ICIG complaint, I've been prevented from resuming prior employment and can confirm I'm still blacklisted from certain agencies within the intelligence community. In addition, multiple agencies attempted phishing attacks to assess what I had divulged to the Inspector General, including being asked to disclose details of my ICIG complaint during a CI polygraph for a position unrelated to UFO UAP matters as recently as November 2024. As I sit before you today, I and many other whistleblowers have no job prospects, no foreseeable professional future in a nation every single one of us came forward to defend. I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, an oath that demands truth and transparency for our democratic republic to function. Each day, these truths remain hidden from our citizens. Humanity drifts further from the principles our nation was founded to uphold. Each day, victims of crimes committed by agencies and companies maintaining this secrecy are denied justice as another day our Constitution is shredded. In 2023, Patriots provided this committee and the executive branch with undeniable proof of the UAP reality, and I commend your continued commitment. The future of humanity is one which we either travel to the stars or regress to the Stone Age with this technology. My career has been to deliver critical information to decision makers. Your role as elected by your representatives is to act on it. The time to act is now. Thank you.
Mr. Borland, thank you for your service to our country, and we appreciate you. And we are sorry about how you've been treated, and we will make sure that we try to rectify that situation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Powerful stuff, right? Dylan's testimony raises tough questions about whistleblower protections, accountability, and how we treat those brave enough to report what they've seen. Let's unpack the key moments from his testimony, because there's a couple of points that I would like to make. Retaliation against whistleblowers was a major theme. Dylan Borland testified that during what was supposed to be a routine polygraph, he was asked inappropriate questions about his ICIG case. That sounds less like routine and more like intimidation. And the scary part is, if those actions were technically legal, where does that leave whistleblowers?
I don't know. You got me.
I mean, the actions of the military are getting murky here. This is really important to talk about.
Right. So he's under a polygraph, doing an interview for a totally separate job.
Yep.
And they're asking him questions about his complaint.
Yes.
You know, they're trying to get more information out of him to see who he told or what he said.
Right. And if there's a legal loophole that makes that okay, I mean, geez, that's scary for potential future whistleblowers. I mean, if the military is allowed to act in such a snaky kind of way in this scenario, I mean, where are the boundaries? You know, like, where does that end? You know what I'm saying? Like, at what point do they think that they're crossing a line?
Maybe it's not the military. Maybe it's contractors, third-party contractors or people that are in the intelligence community.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. Another thing that we would like to highlight that we haven't really heard many people talking about enough is lawyers. Most UAP whistleblowers don't bring one to Congress or to the ICIG or to AARO when they go to share their stories. Some were even told that they straight up did not need a lawyer. But maybe that needs to change because trust and resources are clearly major hurdles.
And then there's this question. Why do some whistleblowers face harassment while others, like Senior Chief Wiggins, seem to get smooth sailing? His ship locked multiple sensors on Tic Tacs near the Nimitz zone, yet instead of data being confiscated, the Navy actually supported him testifying. Why is that so drastically different compared to Dylan Borland and his experience with the Air Force?
It seems like the Air Force has a tight grip on this whole thing, man. They're not trying to let anything out. They're not trying to let anybody talk about it. They're not trying to support the people that do talk about it. But I do think it's very weird that there's a huge inconsistency with how Wiggins, U.S. Navy, being supported, Borland, U.S. Air Force, about to run out of unemployment in the next 2 weeks and be broke with no job, and he can't get a job because of all the scrutiny he's facing and all of the messing around with him. Right. I feel like that's an important point for people to like really mentally munch on and consider, because like, what's up with that? Why is there inconsistencies? I don't like the fact that there's inconsistencies. It speaks volumes about like, you know, how this is all compartmentalized and how the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, or maybe the right hand knows everything that's going on. It's concerning. It's concerning.
And finally, could retaliation and selective silence point to treason within our own ranks? Or, and this is where it gets really interesting, is there an NHI infiltration problem inside our government or contractors? I mean, some people say that aliens walk among us, right? That idea might sound out there, but when you consider laws like the Galactic Information Non-Discrimination Act, which specifically protects against genetic-based targeting in employment and health, it makes you raise your eyebrows. So that could potentially explain your question a minute ago.
Well, go ahead.
Right? With the Air Force and the Navy. Why is there such a difference when it comes to people whistleblowing or testifying? You know, maybe NHI has infiltrated the Air Force.
That's why we're talking about this, honestly.
Right? And the Navy is in the dark and they want to know. Possibly. That could be an explanation.
Man, see, in this...
Or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe the Air Force really doesn't know, and the NHI infiltrated the Navy, and they're trying to, I don't know. Right?
Both scenarios are like kind of wild to consider, but I mean, at this point, would I be surprised if our government and military was working with aliens that are walking amongst us that look like humans that you can't tell are really aliens? No, I would not. I would definitely not. And I just need to make a correction on something you said. It is not the Galactic Information Non-Discrimination Act. It is the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act.
Oh, did I say galactic there? Oh,
I'll pop a picture up here.
Genetic. My bad.
Right. And you should look into that, because if there really is some sort of like hybrid scenario or aliens working within our government, or, I mean, look into it. I promise it's a rabbit hole worth going down.
Okay.
I'm planting some little seeds here. I'm laying out some Easter eggs for these guys. I hope that they follow through. All right. And to add to this sentiment, Clint Weldon from the night shift, who was there in the room at the UAP hearings, along with the other night shift crew guys, shout out Xander and everybody else that was there, Dan Cleary, they had this to say. Borland is tearing up, very emotional about this topic and what's been done to silence him. Quote, the future of humanity is to travel to the stars or return to the Stone Age, end quote. Heavy words to end his little segment on.
Yeah, and I really feel for him.
Me too.
You know, I really do. And he's doing what he thinks is right. And he's coming forward and he's spilling the tea. You know, he's being a true whistleblower. And his whole life is turned upside down for doing what he believes is the right thing to do.
Which unfortunately seems to be a common theme amongst whistleblowers, right? I felt so bad for him when he was talking about how they really messed with him and his clearances and how he was trying to get other jobs and he can't get other jobs and he's on unemployment and he only has 2 weeks of unemployment left. So here's somebody that served our country, defended our country, did what he thought was the right thing, and is now about to be broke at home with no way of getting a job because they messed with him so bad nobody wants to hire him for this type of jobs that he can and has experience in doing. Like, how is that fair? How is that fair? It's like the military is using these people, and then when it comes time for the military to do right by these people, the military wants to turn a blind eye and act like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I mean, this can even be brought up with the whole idea of like Havana syndrome and how some of these military men have been injured throughout their experience in the military with relations to exposure to UAP stuff, and how when they go to the doctor for it, when they go to, don't let me lose my thought, when they go to the doctor for it, then all of a sudden they can't be treated because the military has those parts of their records classified, and they can't be treated for something that's not documented, but the military is not documenting it because they don't want people to know about it. So it's like this loophole of military veterans just getting dicked over by the military. Not cool, bruh. Not cool.
Right.
Not cool.
Not cool.
Not cool. Sorry, I get really worked up about veterans. I mean, it's like when you put your life on the line and have a whole career dedicated to the country, and then the country turns around and does you dirty. I mean, fucking A, dude.
Right. It's extremely wrong, and these people definitely need to be protected. They need to be able to say what they think is right, and still be able to have the means to provide for themselves and their family.
Yeah.
And
I really hope that if somebody that's out there that has the capability to hire him and give him a job so that he's not losing his unemployment and having no other source of income to provide for himself and his family, I mean, that would be really great, because this also goes to talk about, like, raising funds for whistleblowers, because in these types of situations, what are they supposed to do? Mm-hmm. What are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, let's move on.
Okay.
Finally, we turn to Joe Spielberger, a last-minute addition to the hearings and serving as a minority witness. Spielberger is Senior Policy Counsel at the Project on Government Oversight, or POGO, as he keeps saying throughout his presentation, bringing a critical perspective on accountability, transparency, and how government programs are monitored. His insights shed light on the structural and policy angles behind the UAP investigations, complementing the first-hand accounts we've seen from other witnesses.
Mr. Spielberger, please, your opening remarks.
Chairwoman Luna, Ranking Member Crockett, and Task Force members, thank you for the opportunity to testify here today about the importance of strengthening whistleblower protections, especially in the context of national security. Whistleblowers are often some of the most dedicated and principled public servants we have because of their willingness to put themselves on the line to do what's right. And Congress has historically supported them, again, on a bipartisan basis, but unfortunately, whistleblowing has increasingly become more politicized, with support for whistleblowers often hinging on which party is in power and which party is politically inconvenienced by the misconduct being exposed. But to be clear, targeting whistleblowers individually risks undermining whistleblowing, period. POGO advises members of Congress on both sides of the aisle to focus on the evidence, not the individual. We will always need whistleblowers to achieve the government that best serves its people, because when people of conscience, integrity, and good character refuse to speak up out of fear, complacency, or self-preservation, and leave corruption to fester behind closed doors, that is probably the most dangerous risk of all. If we are serious about increasing government transparency and restoring the public's trust, we need public servants committed to the truth. Whistleblowers need safe and effective channels to make lawful disclosures. They need stronger protections against retaliation. And when they do face retaliation, they need a fair shot to be made whole. Congress has made strides to pass whistleblower legislation, and these laws need to be updated and expanded so that whistleblowers truly receive the protections they need, retaliators are held accountable, and we can achieve the type of government the people deserve. We strongly urge Congress to continue its historic tradition of championing the rights and protections of all whistleblowers. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify here this morning. POGO is committed to working with you and the Oversight Committee to address these critical issues. I look forward to any questions.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Spielberger's testimony reminds us that understanding UAPs isn't just about the sightings themselves. It's also about oversight, transparency, and the policies that govern how these programs operate. Whistleblower protections was forefront in his message to Congress and brought much needed attention to this matter. With that, we wrap up our deep dive into what happened during the hearings. Next, we'll take a look at some of what happened after.
And shout out to Tim Burchett and his efforts with HR 5060, which is for whistleblower protection. All right, with the hearings now behind us, the conversation is just heating up and it is not dimming out anytime soon. Everyone in the UFO community and beyond is talking about what they saw, heard, and discovered during these sessions. In this next segment, we'll explore the reactions, ideas, and debates that have emerged, highlighting the thoughts and perspectives of researchers, experiencers, and enthusiasts as the community digests what these hearings really mean. Up first, we hear from Ryan Graves, who, as you know, testified in the 2023 UAP hearings alongside Grush and Fravor. His tweet says, "Great work by the hearing participants today. I was impressed by both what the witnesses had to share and the energy our reps like Real Anna Paulina Luna, Eric Burleson, Eli Crane, and many others are putting behind this. My takeaways are, first, UAP reporting top-down is broken and mismanaged. From the highest level ICIG complaints to soldiers reporting up the chain to aircrew reporting to ATC. At worst, active hostility. At best, indifference and confusion. We need to educate, standardize, and systemize reporting and whistleblower protections. Secondly, real, everyday servicemen and women are seen as collateral damage in pursuit of the supposed greater good of secrecy. But the threats, actions, ? Are growing insufficient against the momentum. Third, the video shared was a fantastic peek behind the curtain. I'm not aware of any object that could take a missile hit, and the constituent components continue to travel together. I've not studied the video closely, but after first watching, I don't have an explanation." If you guys knew how many times I just had to read that, oh my God. The constituent components continue part tripped me up. If I ever made a blooper reel, you guys would be laughing your asses off at me.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
All right. Next, we'll hear from Lou Elizondo, who testified at the 2024 hearings alongside Tim Gallaudet, Michael Gold, and Eric Schellenberger. Today was a very proud moment for our country. Under the leadership of Chairwoman Luna and her fearless colleagues on the task force, our nation is finally getting some of the insight it deserves. A special thanks to the brave individuals who testified today. I could not be more proud of the committee and the process. Special thanks to George Knapp.
I think everybody really loved what George did at these hearings.
Yeah, he was
fire, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, in this next clip, Chris Cuomo meets up with Ross Coulthart and Lou Elizondo to get their takes on the hearings.
My guests, perfect. Ross Coulthart, all right, who live streamed the hearings for the network News Nation, and Lou Elizondo, former head of the government's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Lou, it's great to have you. Ross, as always, thank you. Ross, let me tee up what I think mattered most, and feel free to disagree with that assessment. But the idea that one of our best missiles, a Hellfire missile that usually you can't get away from, didn't work with whatever it was fired at on this one occasion. We're showing it, right? And you see the incoming ballistic, Lou. You can help me with this in terms of the jargon. And the thing seems to I thought at first when I saw it that it hit it and it just ricocheted off, end of story. But the people at the hearing were saying, no, that's not what you're seeing. So I want your guys' perspective. What am I missing in this and why does it matter, Ross?
It matters. G'day, Chris. It matters because that is a Hellfire missile, one of the top missiles in the U.S. military arsenal for combating, surface to air, to air. And it frankly didn't make a jot of difference to whatever that object is. And that's significant because what it shows is there is a technology that is unhindered by whatever it is that the U.S. is trying to use against it. This is significant. This is obviously something that I think in the past the United States military, the intelligence community have tried to keep from public knowledge. Is this the reason why they don't want us to know about the UAP mystery? I'd love to know Lou's perspective on this, but frankly, I think this was a turning point in congressional awareness on UAPs. And I think all told, the hearing was significant because Congress has got its mojo back. And this video is a signal of their intention to take the defence and intelligence community on for their unwillingness to engage the public on this mystery.
Lou, in proper context of the informed skepticism on this, it's no. This happens. It's like when somebody gets shot in the head sometimes, the right angle, the right caliber, it can bounce off instead of blowing right through you. This is the same thing. Because of the angle and the speed, it was a glancing blow. You saw some of the stuff came off, and that's all this is. There's nothing special about it other than that.
Well, first of all, I disagree with that perspective. The Hellfire missile is certainly one of the most sophisticated, most capable types of air missiles that we have. We use it to prosecute the global war on terror, in the vernacular, if you will, warheads on foreheads, with such a degree of precision that we can literally fly it through a window and take out a bunch of terrorists. What you are seeing here is basically some sort of technology that is making our premier missile system completely and utterly useless, if you will. It is making it almost irrelevant. So imagine, for example, let's take away the word UAP and just say this was some sort of adversarial technology, UAP technology from Russia. How do you think that would bode well for the Department of Defense and our national security, knowing that Russia has a capability that completely makes all our missiles completely ineffective? This is a significant problem from a strategic perspective, from a tactical perspective, from a national security perspective. This video is extremely compelling, and I wish more of these types of videos would be released, because when I was an ATIP at the time, we had all sorts of videos available to us that frankly would probably knock your socks off. And this is why I'm so happy to see Congress doing what they're doing, especially under the leadership right now of Rep. Luna and her colleagues on the task force. America has a problem right now. Let's face it. The name of this task force is Restoring Public Trust Through UAP Transparency and Whistleblower Protection. This was the title of the hearing for the task force that Luna led. That means we already have a problem. If you have to restore public trust, that means you are already at a disadvantage. You're at a point where you lost it. Yeah.
Rep. Eric Burleson tweeted this: I joined News Nation to break down the newly revealed UAP video from Tuesday's hearing. You be the judge.
So Congressman Burleson's here. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here.
We're going to show the video that you just played. And just to be clear, this is video that has never been showed publicly until just now, correct?
That's right. It hasn't been shown publicly. And look, I'm going to create a caveat here. I'm not an expert in video footage. I don't have the forensic, abilities to determine that this is accurate. And so I want to say that. But that being said, the way in which that this was given to me was pretty clandestine and almost was like a Tom Clancy novel, anonymously given to me. And I think it's remarkable footage.
Well, if we can, guys, if we can bring that full, if possible. And Congressman, can you walk us through, just as best your understanding, what we're actually seeing in this video?
Yeah, the description that was included with the video to me was just simply said, October 30th of 2024. So just last year, that this off the coast of Yemen, that this object was filmed by an MQ-9 drone, and that another one that's not seen, another drone, fires a Hellfire missile at this object, and then you can see exactly what happens. What's remarkable is that after it's hit, it continues to, it shifts form, continues to fly, but then there's objects that are now trailing with it.
Okay.
And then you can see when it zooms out, you'll see that they continue to trail with this object.
Right there, that was the moment. So it just got sort of clipped, but it looks like it
was a jump zoom.
Okay.
It was a jump zoom.
Okay.
Yeah,
And this is just a different angle.
That's
of
the jump
same.
zoom, right.
Okay, got it. And for those, I guess, unfamiliar, this may sound obvious and dumb, but if something gets hit in the sky with a Hellfire missile, we would not expect it to keep flying.
No, you would not. So that's why, look, and I'm open, this could have been anything, right? It could be, conventional, something, prosaic. It could be just, there's a simple explanation. But look, I'm taking the posture that rather than hold on to these things and keep it from the public, I'm going to release it to the public. I'm going to be transparent. I work for the people, and I'm going to let the public determine the accuracy or validity of the video rather than me hold on to it.
What is the Pentagon saying about this, if anything, already or yet?
Not yet.
Okay. So we're waiting to get some more answers on that.
Yes.
All right. I know you got a hearing to continue to do. Thank you for giving us that explanation, Congressman. Really appreciate it.
Even TMZ joined the UFO chat with this post that says, Jeremy Corbell joined us on TMZ Live to discuss newly released footage showing the U.S. targeting a true UAP with a Hellfire missile for the first time.
There is a new video that has surfaced in the world of unidentified flying objects or UAPs. UAPs,
Yeah.
Which is what they're calling it now. And it is super interesting.
The video was shot about a year ago, off the coast of Yemen. It came out today in a congressional oversight committee hearing. And Congressman Burleson actually posted this video so that everyone in public could see what they were talking about in committee.
There is nobody who knows more about this subject than Jeremy Corbell, and he's joining us. Welcome back, Jeremy.
Hey, nice to see you.
So walk us through this. What is this? And am I right that it seems to blow apart and then reassemble? That's at least the way I see it.
Yeah, well, first of all, this was another historic UAP hearing. We had some great witnesses, including George Knapp. So what you're seeing is October 30th, 2024. It's Reaper drone footage and in the area off the coast of Yemen. And there was a shoot down order. And like a lot of these shoot down orders against UAP, although now we have visual evidence of it, is that it was ineffective. Our weapons were ineffective against it. And the most notable part about this video is that the objects detached from the UAP. And that's what was reported in all of the reports that I was exposed to internally. The objects detached from the UAP and continued flight. So what you're seeing in that video when pieces fall off, when the Hellfire missile didn't do its job and be able to down this thing, is what they said were objects from the UAP with continued flight afterwards. I'm just astounded that they got this visual evidence in a congressional hearing. George Knapp and I have tried multiple times in the hearings to provide new footage to the public through that medium. But the Congress people were able to do it. Representative Luna ran a great hearing. And, each of the witnesses were so powerful today. You had an active Navy commander with additional footage that we have reported on together, Harvey, and that's the 2023 Tic Tac UAPs. It was awesome.
So, Jeremy, a question. It did look like, in addition to the object breaking apart and coming back together, did the missile continue? Did they mention that in the hearing, exactly what happened? Did the missile not make a direct hit? Because what happened?
Yeah, it's funny. When I was authenticating this for Congress, because it was kind of a surprise to me that they had it, I got some Congress people on the phone with some of the Navy individuals who have very close proximity knowledge to this event, and they were able to affirm that this Hellfire missile essentially bounced off of the thing. So it did not create an explosive impact. But again, the most critical part is what you're seeing, these little objects after, they're described as not part of the missile. These are part of the UAP that then continued in controlled flight after impact. So that's a head scratcher.
That's really concerning.
So Jeremy, why would the missile target that object in the first place?
Yeah, well, they were given a shoot down order. So whatever it was.
But why?
There's a couple reasons why. Proximity to ground troops or anything that appears it can be carrying a payload. But I've said this before for years that we do shoot at UAP. We've actually reported images of cases where this happened, but this is the first time the public is seeing video of us targeting with a Hellfire missile a true UAP, an anomalous aerospace craft that is somehow traversing without visible signs of propulsion. You're asking why? And really, Harvey, it's about proximity to ground troops in the operational area in any given situation.
Right.
But they deemed it a threat, and they deemed it that they were going to try to take it out ineffectively.
It is fascinating footage. One more question, Jeremy. So this was shot by an American drone, right? As I read what the congressman released, an MQ-9 Reaper. And I'm not asking this in a facetious way at all. Why can't they have a better camera on our drones? Like, I think the American public would be more, if we had a full color image of this, people would be more likely to say, okay, now I can see what they're talking about. The radar scope images is what makes people go, I don't know, I'm skeptical.
Okay, but let me talk about two things. First of all, for all you know, this was filmed at night and at a good distance. So thermal, the black and white imagery, is what sees in the dark. So if you had a normal thermal or normal camera, you're not going to see anything. So these are actually weapons-grade platforms that can view these. Now, I do believe in the future, you're going to be seeing some additional full color UAP footage if George and I do our jobs right. And so I'll try to satisfy that desire for you. With
we can help.
we know
Look,
you will do your job.
And look, if you guys do need help, you may want to tell the military TMZ has really good cameras, and we're up for the job, Jeremy.
Harvey, these are great cameras. These are weapons platforms. They can see in the dark.
I know. This video is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Thank you for covering this really big win for UAP.
It's really important.
Tonight.
This is a big one.
And to gain perspective from an actual rocket scientist, let's take a listen to a clip from the night shift where they discuss the possible reasons why that missile would not have detonated.
Shout out, Missile Man.
My name's Rob Jones, by the way, to everybody here on the stream.
It was a paid-for comment, so let's give it the respect it deserves. This guy, is a Navy nuclear propulsion engineer. Ask him about Salvatore Pais.
I have a lot of respect for Salvatore, but I don't think he's gotten the best deal out of all of this when he decided to go public. That's all.
So the Hellfire, Hellcat, Hellfire?
Hellfire. It's the AGM-126 Hellfire.
Hellfire, it's the what now?
It's an AGM, air-to-ground missile, 126 model, Hellfire missile.
Okay, so the question came up a lot basically since it was announced that it was a Hellfire missile.
Yeah.
Why didn't it explode?
Okay, so the Hellfire missile uses a proximity fusing system, and I consulted one of my guys who is an actual missile engineer. Some of you guys have probably followed him on Twitter. His name is Missile Man. And he gave me a really excellent answer that I would love to relay to you guys. When I was speaking to him, I know the AGM-126 Hellfire is a proximity fused device. So it has an electromagnetic sensor with a large shaped charge payload that's surrounded by a kinetic sheathing that's designed to give fragmentation, right? So this seeker on the missile is supposed to go off based on electromagnetic returns. The theory that my friend Missile Man had, is that the only thing that he could think of was this, and I'm going to read this verbatim. If a Hellfire missile were to glance off of an exotic craft with a space-time manipulation bubble, the most plausible physics explanations would be that the fuse's electromagnetic signals never return properly. The RF returns get phase shifted or time skewed outside the triggering envelope, or physical impact cues are nullified and not sensed, because it does have a physical sensor as well. So somehow the physical sensor on the missile was nullified, as well as the electromagnetic returns. What that means is when you go into a space-time bubble, we talk about like time dilation, okay? Time dilation is, it's also a dilation of like the radiation that takes place during or in that area. So you're going to have things that are like blue shifted or red shifted, depending on how they're phase shifted outside of that. For the non-physics people in the chat, it just means that, we're supposed to sense a return within a certain frequency. And because it was in that bubble, it may have been well outside that frequency range and therefore never went off.
It shifted outside the frequency range.
Right. Pure Star Trek lingo? I mean, not quite. I mean, if you go back to the work of Miguel Alcubierre, this has very much been in the public sphere for about 25 years. So a space-time bubble is not really that crazy of a thing, I would say.
It would also go a long way to explaining the distortions around the craft, the weird shapes, the shimmering effect, a lot of the visual weirdness around these, right?
I mean, Vallée had a piece that came out at some point, if I'm not mistaken, that describes medical effects of UAP, and it goes into some of the BAS documents that are out there as well talk about this and about the experience range that you would have to be at based on some suppositions that they've made about the technology. Who knows? I don't know what creates a space-time bubble. Obviously, we have so many questions about the technology, but we do know that something is altering that in some of these cases because of the amount of evidence that we have documented from various different sources. I would urge everybody to look around for the new papers that were just released by Dr. Vallée and a few others.
For even more mental candy to munch on, in this next clip, we'll hear from Chris Lato about what his theory is on why this object possibly did not detonate and what it could potentially be.
The Yemen UAP video has gone completely viral. My father-in-law asked me about it, and that's when I know it's hit the mainstream, which is really unfortunate because it pains me to say that it is obviously a balloon. And how am I so sure is we finally have one key bit of information that we haven't had in any of the other FLIR videos. And using that key information, we can get actual target data And I can show you definitively that this is obviously a balloon. Okay, so this is the most obvious example I could make. Let's watch through real time. I've stabilized them in the center and the same timing. So you'll see the same timing, the impacts, how they're falling. Note the additional objects. The wide field of view, so he brakes lock on the left, and now it stops. So now let's watch the actual impact. So we see the impact, okay? And on the right, we have the Chinese balloon, and you can see the missile went right through, okay? And it looks like there's some dust from, or debris at least, from the Chinese balloon. You can see the impact, and we don't see an explosion from the Chinese balloon impact, right? Okay, another big question I get is, why didn't the Hellfire detonate? Dean Aliotto actually noticed this. And I think the difference is the AIM-9X uses a proximity sensor, so it sends out radar energy, which will reflect off the balloon and set off the proximity center. But Hellfires mainly use impact sensors, so meaning they have a G meter. When it hits, it has to slow down very quickly. It has to basically stop the missile, hit something hard enough to set off the fuse and detonate the missile. And if it's just going through thin plastic, it's not really going to slow down. And so I don't think it will set off the missile. Finally, I wouldn't be surprised if this was deliberately planted to undermine disclosure efforts. While I commend Representative Burleson and his staff's work, I recommend greater caution moving forward. I'm happy to analyze videos privately and discreetly before they're presented in important forums. On the other hand, the Jackson UAP incident is genuinely compelling, featuring witness testimony, excellent video footage, radar data, and visual confirmation. We should focus our analytical efforts there instead of amplifying this unvetted material. And this analysis is corroborated by Ryan Graves. He says in a tweet, after further review, it's conceivable the video is of a prosaic target struck by a missile. Chunks broke off, stabilized in the airstream, and began a parabolic descent that is generally aligned with the camera angle, making the target aspect change nearly imperceptible as it descends. If we had a longer video, we may see the components impact the water surface eventually. Without source details, I can't say more. Eric Burleson, I'm aware of much longer videos with clearly anomalous behaviors captured by the same MQ-9 platform in other parts of the world. The witness is willing to come forward, and the videos are accessible through the proper channels.
And to finish off this segment with a positive note from one of the witnesses himself, George motherfucking Knapp, let's take a look at this next clip.
Let's just start, 30,000-foot view. How do you think the hearing went today?
I thought it was spectacular. I mean, the fact that it happened at all is amazing. Congress went 50 years without touching this, no hearings at all. Now we've had several in a row, and these members have, it's a steep learning curve, but they've obviously educated themselves and are deeply interested in it.
What really strikes me is 2 years ago, we had that first hearing, 2023. The difference in just like the caliber of questions from members between then and now, you all have educated them in some sense.
Yeah, I think so. They've clearly done their homework. I mean, it's like, hey, what do you think about UFOs? It's this witness did what, this program did what. They've really done their homework and dug in.
The video that was shown today, I think is pretty remarkable. Granted, we don't fully, understand what's going on in it. But what did you make of that moment and the committee's reaction to it?
We've been hearing about this video for a while. Jeremy Corbell and I talked about it on the air a while ago. We hadn't seen it yet, but now that it's been released, awesome. Somebody had to leak that and put it out and put it in the right hands. A member of Congress had showed it to us in advance of the hearing, and it was pretty spectacular. I mean, a Hellfire missile hitting an unknown object, it bounces off, and then the object keeps going. That's some really interesting technology, whatever the hell it is.
Can you explain Thread 3? There was a lot of discussion and admiration for how you were able to even get that at all. But how important is that to the larger narrative here?
Thread 3 was a really big Russian UFO program. There had been a 10-year stretch where the entire Russian military, vast USSR military apparatus, every unit in that system had to identify, investigate, and pass all the information of any UFO incident onto the Ministry of Defense. Thread 3 grew out of that. It was analyzing all those cases and trying to figure out if they could duplicate the technology that was flying around in their skies. it leads me to believe that we would learn more from the Russians about what our American government knows about UFOs than we'd ever learn from the American government itself, and that's what we did.
Yeah, I hear. Oh, go ahead.
It suggests that the superpowers in this world are trying to do the same thing. They're trying to figure out that technology and see if they can replicate it, and the first country that gets it wins. These things have been around for a long time, flying over every continent, every culture, as long as humans can recall, and it is a global phenomenon. The Russians, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Israelis, they're all interested in trying to get the technology. Maybe an event like this will help reduce the stigma and get more people involved, scientists, engineers who've been told for so long that there's nothing to it. The OSAP program under the DIA, they collected files from all over the world. They created the world's largest UFO database with some 240,000 cases. I think that some intelligence agencies are in use of that right now, but the vast majority of what was created with tax dollars has never been released to the public. 95% of these amazing reports have never been released at all. DIA says they can't find them.
What is the next immediate step? I know it's a marathon, it's not a sprint here, disclosure, but what do you think comes next after today?
What I hope comes next is that Congress can enact some protections for whistleblowers that are meaningful, that can protect them not only from retribution in their job, that can maintain their security clearances, and that encourages more whistleblowers to come forward. There are people out there who shared information with us off the record who'd like to be able to go on the record, but they're worried for their lives. That's not a joke. They think that they would be killed if they came forward and told what they had. If Congress wants real whistleblowers with hands-on experience who've worked on these secret projects, have seen the technology with their own eyes, they want them to testify. They're going to have to really enact some strict protections, and it has to go beyond just job protection. It has to be protection for their lives.
And last one, can you just sort of characterize or qualify how you think today may have just moved the ball forward more generally on disclosure?
Well, look, you had really credible witnesses. They're not trying to sell a book. They're not trying to get a movie. They're telling what really happened to them. And it takes courage to come forward under oath before Congress, basically in front of the whole world, and tell the story. You know they're going to get crap. You know what UFO world is like, Joe. They're going to get ripped to shreds, and some of them were already being ripped to shreds as soon as their names came out. So I hope that those guys, being willing to put it all on the line, speak to Congress about what they had seen and what they know, will encourage others to follow in their footsteps.
All right, so lots of opinions about this video, lots of different perspectives, lots of people talking about it. There's people saying it blew up, it came back together. There's people saying it's a balloon, it's not a balloon. I mean, there's so much conversation going on about this. There's definitely more that I couldn't include, because you can't include everything, right? But it's like there's a lot of people talking about this, a lot of ideas, a lot of theories flying around. What do you think?
I'm not an expert when it comes to analyzing FLIR videos, right, or infrared targeting pod sensor videos.
I feel like that's exactly what Burleson said.
So since I'm not an expert, I do have to rely on people that do have expertise in that field. Mm-hmm. And Chris Lato is definitely an expert when it comes to videos like this. I mean, he flew F-16s in the military for 20 years, operating these sensor systems. So if there's anybody that really knows what they're looking at, I would imagine it would be him. Okay. And I agree after hearing his explanation, that, yeah, we are looking at a missile that hit a balloon. I'm sorry. I know it's not the popular opinion. I know it's not what everybody wanted it to be. I mean, I myself thought that it was really anomalous the first time I saw it, but after going back and listening to Chris's explanation about the different things that we're seeing, it makes sense. So, in my opinion, I think it is just a balloon that the missile did not fuse on, did not detonate, because it didn't have enough of a impact, right, to fuse the missile. Had that been a radar fusing missile like the AIM-9, like the one that took down the Chinese spy balloon, then we would have seen a little bit of an explosion, but we don't.
Okay.
And that's because of the missile. It's a Hellfire missile. It's different from the AIM-9. But, so then the question comes up, why did this video not get vetted first before they before they put it on in Congress.
Didn't Burleson, and there's like a double D phrase that I don't know if I have the words right in my head, but what did he say? It was a dead drop or a dumb drop or something. Like, how did he get this video? It was like
it was dead drop to him.
Thank you.
Basically meaning that all the
anonymous source,
right, all the identifiable information as to where the video came from, basically saying the metadata had got scrubbed from the video.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like that might hold some sort of significance or importance. I don't exactly know how. I also want to bring up the fact that, I mean, David Grush is his congressional staffer now. So I wonder if Grush thought it was a good video or if he didn't think it was a good video, or like, I really wish we could hear from Grush ourselves. Like, we haven't heard a freaking peep from this man since all this stuff went down and his lawsuit got dismissed. But I would like to hear from him. Like, we haven't heard his voice, in some time now. So I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know how to analyze videos. If this really is a freaking balloon, oh God, I'm tired. I'm tired of taking gut punches. Like, what the fuck, guys?
Right. And you can argue one way or the other about this video, but why put a video that is potentially so easily debunked?
I don't know.
Why
even focus on the fact that it could potentially be a balloon.
Basically, it's a red herring. And by that I mean it's something that at first glance appears very anomalous.
This is so cringy for me, guys. I feel how uncomfortable I am.
It is easily debunked. To basically say that, look, all these people thought that this was an anomalous video showing a UFO getting shot, but it's really just a balloon. And I feel like it's done on they do that on purpose to try to discredit the entire disclosure process. I think, honestly, we really should be focused on Alexandro Wiggins testimony and the data associated with that sighting.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
I think that we should do that.
Let's do that, because talking about this potentially being a balloon, not a balloon, like, I feel like, okay. Yes, it's important to talk about it because everybody wants to know what it is, right? But I don't want to talk about it because I feel like we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot by focusing on like what narrative the skeptics or the debunkers, quote unquote, would have. Now, if this really is just a balloon, then maybe the skeptics and the debunkers are correct. I don't know. I just feel like it's an uncomfortable situation for me to like consider all of that. But I would like to also highlight the important parts that came from this. And that's the fact that we have people talking about UAPs. This is hitting mainstream media. Like Chris Lato said in his little clip that we showed you. I mean, his father-in-law asked him about this. So that means that like people that are not in the UFO community are talking about it, thinking about it, wanting to know more. Yeah. So that's positive, right?
Right. It is positive. Yeah. And we have to push for the truth, no matter what that truth is. That's what we need to focus on.
I know,
because no matter what the truth is, no matter if it's real or this entire topic is not real. I am of the opinion that it is real, and there is more things that the government knows that they are not telling us, and we need to push to have that truth disclosed.
Sure.
Now, putting out a video of a missile shooting down a balloon does kind of hurt the process, but maybe they designed it that way, and we need to push back on that. But whatever the truth is of these videos, we should try to find the truth.
But I also don't want people to get hung up on stuff like this and then completely gloss over all of the really cool, important things that was said and did happen during the hearings. We need to talk about this intimidation from the military. We need to talk about the fact that a potential craft could have landed on an Air Force base on their flight line and then took off in instantaneous speed. I mean, we need to talk about the fact that there's people that are abusing their positions within the military and or the intelligence community and acting out against military members. Like, we need to really be focusing on those things. I don't want those things to be lost. I really want to pause the debate about the video and shine a spotlight on those things, because those things are just as, if not more important than whether or not the video is real. What a historic set of hearings this was, from Jeffrey Nuccetelli witnessing unidentified craft on a military base, to Alexandro Wiggins' firsthand account of glowing objects emerging from the ocean and then accelerating at impossible speeds, to George Knapp dropping names of UAP gatekeepers, Dylan Borland highlighting retaliation for speaking the truth, and finally, Joe Spielberger highlighting the policy and oversight challenges. Each testimony painted a fuller picture of just how complex and urgent this issue is. We also saw evidence that challenges our understanding of the world. A Hellfire missile striking a UAP or a balloon, who the F knows, with zero effect, whistleblowers facing intimidation instead of protection, and glaring inconsistencies in how those who step forward are treated. It's clear that the phenomenon is real, the evidence is compelling, and the stakes for truth and transparency have never been higher. Yet with all of these challenges, there's cause for hope. The fact that these hearings happened, the courage of the witnesses, and the growing public awareness that is changing by the day. The conversation is expanding, more people are paying attention, and the UFO community is more engaged than ever. This is just the beginning. If we continue to ask the hard questions, protect those who speak the truth, and engage with the evidence seriously, we can finally start to uncover what's really out there.
Do you feel these hearings are a turning point in how the public learns about UAP? How important do you think whistleblower protection is for moving disclosure forward? What does the missile video suggest to you about the types of technology we are dealing with here? Sound off in the comments section and let us know. Also, don't forget to go to the Lato Files Discord server and share your thoughts with the community there. An invite link can be found in the video description box below, along with all of the sources that are featured in this show, so make sure to check that out.
And that concludes this week's UAP Society's weekly UAP News Show. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And while you're here, please do us a favor and smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help expand the conversation. Let's raise the collective consciousness together in unity. Alrighty, guys.
Much love, peace,
and namaste. And third, the video shared was a fascinating peek behind the curtain. I'm not aware of any object that can take a missile hit and the constituent components. Thirdly, the video shared was a fascinating peek behind the curtain. I'm not aware of any object that can take a missile hit and the constituent components continue. Constituent components continue. Third, the video shared was a fascinating peek behind the curtain. I'm not aware of any object that can take a missile heat and the constituent heat. Fuck. Damn it.